Here's the crowd, Houston showing up and showing out, packing the Applebee's we have here. Gotta love it. Bringing the energy and the atmosphere.
Do I have any Aggies in the house? Any Aggies? No? A little whoop?
Oh, really?
So apparently not. It's all right.
A couple.
Oh,
Jay Gunn in Houston. There we go.
Now we're talking. Yeah.
Have you ever pondered what the storyline would be for Croc 4?
Jay Gunn goes back to Australia, and he gets lost in the wilderness. And there's an alligator about to eat him, and then the actual crocodile comes in and does whatever it was he does that talks to the animals, and saves Jay, and then the two of them go on a swashbuckling adventure. Hey, look at this!
That dude in the Barry Sanders jersey at the bar is the man, from Steve.
There you go,
right here.
So my buddy from college who lives here in Houston, he's the person that has Jamar Chase. Now that I'm down by 70 already.
Yeah. 2 drinks, Emerson. He gets 2 drinks.
Should my buddy have me drinking for free on his tab since I'm going through all this pain?
1,000%. Is your buddy here?
That's an easy yeah.
That's an easy yeah. I saw the tweet where you were saying you were going to come meet your best friend. I just didn't know it. So you know what?
we get they gonna hug it out. All right.
I can either thank or blame them for me being here, but this is my father, Dr. Leonard L. Berry, and my mom, Nancy Berry. My father's a professor at Texas A&M University. Horns down, kick 'em Aggies. And my mother, the former mayor of College Station, she got terminal limited out. She was so popular. Mom and Dad, I promised each of these guys one question to you about me. I have no idea what they're going to ask.
Let's go
Lawrence,
on with Jay.
Jay, you got the first question?
I'll start. Nancy, lovely to meet you. My question is, when Matthew was a young boy, did he play nicely with other kids?
Yes.
Oh, wow, okay.
I don't know. Pops ain't looking like.
Fantasy Football Happy Hour with Matthew Berry, served by Applebee's.
Welcome to the Fantasy Football Happy Hour. It is a happy Monday. Those are the sights and sounds from Applebee's in Houston. I have a lot of questions.
Ask away.
But none more important.
Yeah.
Then your dad has more hair than you.
Yes. Yes, everyone has more hair than me. It sucks.
Like noticeably
Yeah.
more.
My dad is into his 80s and looks great.
Like
amazing.
amazing.
And he looks amazing. Like they both do. It's very upsetting. I don't know what I don't know what happened genetically, but yeah,
It skips a generation.
Apparently that must be what it is. My grandfather, my mother's father, bald as a cue ball, and I think that's where it passed down the male pattern baldness from my mom's side of the family. Very upsetting. But I didn't know what you guys were going to ask at all to my parents. I don't remember if I did play well with others, so I'm good. I'm glad no one asked about now, whether I play well with others now.
No, all work, no play makes Matthew a very upset boy.
Yeah, but I got to say this, Connor. Houston showed up.
Turnout looked incredible.
Houston showed up.
Detroit fans really traveled, by the way. My goodness.
Detroit travels well. It was I would say probably 70-30 Houston to Detroit, but there were a lot of Detroit fans. They were loud. It was great to see them. And that particular Applebee's, it was sort of like 2 sections the way that it was built. So there was an entire whole half of the restaurant that you didn't get to see in that sizzle reel, and there was a line out the door. Houston showed up, Jay.
Yeah, it was very, very humbling. It's always it's great to hear from people who watch the show, who have it part of their routine, hearing stories from people who listen when they're at the gym and then their arms go weak on the bench press because they're giggling about something stupid that Matthew has said. That is, it was very, very fun to hang out with people, especially after the show. Everyone who came up and chatted, it was a lot of fun.
It was really nice. One guy brought his daughter, and he was telling me, he goes, yeah, my daughter and I, we watch the show every day on YouTube. And I do me a favor, send me the bill for her therapy sessions that she's going to need. She was adorable. I think she was 8.
And what are the questions she's asking?
I'm sure. Shout
out to them.
But no, he was a great father. All of them. It was great to see so many fans. Really wonderful people, and I promised them all fantasy victories, and I'm pretty sure they all got them.
Maybe. We'll see. What Rockets jersey was that?
It was obviously.
That's a good question. That's a good question. He could have gone with Yao Ming. Could have gone with Clyde Drexler.
Yeah, I couldn't see any number or anything.
Could have
so
gone
curious.
with Hakeem Olajuwon.
Right. T-Mac.
Tracy McGrady would have been.
James Harden.
Yeah. There's so many legends of the Rockets that you could have. Ralph Sampson. How about Ralph Sampson? He's one of the Twin Towers era. but you went with number 12 on the Rockets.
Number 12, which is Kevin Martin. One of the great 17-point-per-game scorers. Offers no defense, no passing.
Where did you find that?
Very efficient. I have my ways.
I'll tell you what. He went to the dollar store. He went to as soon as he got off the airplane, he went to the dollar store. He says, "What Houston Rockets jersey do you have?" And there was Kevin Martin.
Listen,
that was number 12.
Kevin Martin was a bucket. He was the face of that 40 and 42 Rockets era, around in between the good eras of Yao and T-Mac and then James Harden. Aaron Brooks, Luis Scola, Chuck Hayes. This was a great Rockets team. One of the great 40 and 42
Any of those
teams.
names would have been better than Kevin
I wouldn't
Martin.
have got that in 15 guesses.
At least.
Yeah.
Listen, Kmart was ahead of his time. He was a bucket, efficient scorer.
Anyway, but listen, it was better. Jay's Kevin Martin jersey, it still was better than George's. George was wearing an Earl Campbell jersey, just reminding everyone, oh yeah, you guys had this great running back, and now that team's in Tennessee.
Yeah, the Oilers.
Yeah,
which is
exactly.
awesome.
Right, it was
the best color palette in NFL history.
Oh, the Oilers were great. Love you, blue. But I'm just saying, they're now in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Like that. That's a it's a sore subject with Houston football fans. I feel like
George has got a lot of problems, though. He's got a lot of problems.
A lot of issues, and Lawrence.
Seems like a nice
you got to
guy.
forgive him.
And by the way, and then Lawrence,
Deeply troubled.
I think Lawrence in the airport lids just grabbed an Astros hat. He says, give me something with an H on it.
Yeah, that checks out.
Yeah, Lawrence might as well have worn a Micah Parsons jersey. I don't know what Lawrence is
I don't
doing.
know what Lawrence was doing either. But anyway, unbelievable crowd. Thank you to Applebee's. The staff and management at the Applebee's in Houston was top notch. They took great care of us as well. I saw a lot of smiles there through the 2 hours. So thank you, Houston, for showing up. Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, I'm sorry to say,
Wow.
you guys were
No,
great.
antagonized the state of Pennsylvania.
Philadelphia and Pittsburgh were great, but Houston, I think, stepped it up.
Top
a
dog
notch.
right now?
I think so.
All right, you said it, not
Setting the
me,
bar
Matthew.
high.
You
I
said it,
think
not me.
so.
Yep.
Well, that's how the day started in Houston, and it looked.
You disagree?
No, I would have Houston number one as well.
There you go. There you go. Don't throw me under the bus.
people were wonderful. Everyone was wonderful in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh as
they
well.
were great.
If you're making me choose between children, I'm choosing Houston.
That's exactly what I'm doing. I'm making you choose between children.
Well,
Exactly.
Applebee's children.
Applebee's children. Everyone knows Ray was your
Our
favorite.
fake
Come
football
on.
show on a streaming service.
Yes, exactly. Correct.
That's where all the fun started, but it didn't stop there. Of course, we had Sunday Night Football, and it was a doozy with the Lions somehow pulling out the win on the road at Houston, despite Jared Goff throwing 5 interceptions. We got to hear from Goff after the game on somehow winning on a brutal night.
I didn't feel like I was playing all that bad. I was seeing things well. That tip ball, ultimately I got to take care of the ball. But they were making some good plays and some things that weren't going our way. And I think ultimately, I never lost confidence because I felt like I was doing what I was supposed to do on most of those plays. And the guys stuck with me on offense, and I was telling them, "Hey, man, I'm good. Just hang in there, and I'm good. I'm gonna have this thing figured out." And they stuck with me.
Do you think when he said "stick with me," do you think he also said "Look, what are you gonna do? Go to Hendon Hooker? Stop it! Come on, I'm going back out there."
I like that he said I was doing what I was supposed to do on most of those plays. It's like outside of the 5 times you threw it to the other team. Now, to be fair, it was 4 because one was a Hail Mary at the end. Not gonna blame him for that, but it was 4 picks and they weren't great.
Right. And by the way, and there were definitely a handful of throws where like he short-armed it. And I don't know if he was under pressure, but it felt like he was way off target as well. I was watching the game from the stands. My parents, we ended up going to the game, and so I didn't see a lot of all the replays because I'm literally watching it live. It was a great game, great atmosphere, by the way. I highly recommend seeing a game in Houston. They do a really good job just in the stadium and everything like that. He didn't.
He has these
It was
games.
dicey.
He has these games kind of where it just seems like the ball doesn't come out of his hands.
The
Right?
play Jameson Williams got hurt on when they showed the replay, it was just a wobbler. It's like a
me
complete
throwing it
duck.
at times.
It was actually amazing that he caught that, and then he got hit from each side and got hurt because of how long the ball hung in the air. But it was literally just wobbling the whole way.
It's like he goes through these phases where he just has the yips. It was the same on Thanksgiving against the Packers last year. And at least this time, they were able to overcome it. Because I think they are a much better team than they were last year. And, credit to Goff. He clearly doesn't lose confidence in himself. It's just this weird mechanical thing that just kind of rears its head sometimes. And they were bad picks. They weren't all tip balls or anything. And one was more like a strip sack fumble, but he got strip sack fumbled. It was strange, but he was able to gut through it. And they'd earned their win by the end, though they probably was pass interference on that final.
But I mean, again, I think this game, and even if you played in a league that doesn't count interceptions, because there's some leagues where quarterback scoring doesn't count interceptions. So even if you played in a league like that, it's still like, 240 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns. Doesn't really get any rushing as well. It's his second straight game with under 10 fantasy points. Again, that's including the interceptions. And I think he's a better real life quarterback than fantasy asset these days, right? My best bet on Sunday Night Football was under 30 and a half passing attempts, and we had to sweat it to the very end. He ended up with exactly 30. So, never in doubt. But yeah, I certainly didn't expect 5 picks, but whatever. The bet cashes. But the most important game is that he's had only one game this entire season. It continues that trend of having more than 30 pass attempts. That was that week 2 game where he had to throw it a ton. It's just not a high volume offense. And, he's doing enough to keep Amon-Ra relevant, the running backs, and the offense floating, but it just doesn't feel like Goff, who we thought was kind of a big fantasy year, is just anything more than like kind of a bye week fill-in in the right matchup.
Yeah, the team's just too good. They're too good with the run game. It's too diversified. Overall, the defense is better than it was last year, I think, even without Aiden Hutchinson. But at the moment, it's just Goff. There's no path really to high volume unless the defense really regresses and he's playing in all these shootouts.
The good news is,
he turned it over 5 times and he still didn't throw more than 30 times in this game.
Yeah,
right? They were trailing. They were trailing for much of the game. Now, a lot of it, again, to your point about the defense, like they stopped. They had to kick a lot of field goals in this one, right? The Texans couldn't convert, and we'll get to it there in a second. But C.J. Stroud did not play well either. No. I don't think so. Anyway,
the good news is that the 2 guys that you start from, out of his pass catchers were fine. Amon-Ra St. Brown. He ends up with 6 catches, 60 yards, and a touchdown. And this is because they both scored. Sam LaPorta, who got hurt, he had a sprained AC joint. We'll have more on that throughout the week through all our injury discussions. But LaPorta got in the end zone too, and he only had 3 catches, but 66 yards and a touchdown. So, like you said, Matthew, this isn't a pass over expectation offense by any means, but at least the 2 main guys do consistently get the ball or got the ball last night.
Yeah, again, we'll see what the injury is with LaPorta, but since week 8, by the way, a 24% target share for LaPorta. Again, it's low volume,
right,
meaning the overall passing attack, but at least he's getting a nice share of the pie, such as it is over the last 3 weeks. Again, 24% target share, weeks 1 through 7, just 10%. So he's becoming more involved in the offense. When they took that deep shot to him, you're like, well, they're taking a deep shot. LaPorta? all right. And so they're using him different ways. Hopefully he's healthy.
David Montgomery gets in the end zone as well, which really saves his fantasy night. He ends up having 12.6 fantasy points because of the touchdown. Jahmyr Gibbs gets the carries, Jay. 19 carries for 71 yards. He also adds 37 receiving yards, but does not get in the end zone. So basically an average night for both of these guys that evened out.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of, I don't know if poetic is the right word, but Dave Montgomery is the guy who gets in the end zone. Gibbs is more efficient and adds more volume through there. These guys, they just have an incredibly high floor just because the team is so good. Like right now, this is one of the, however you want to rate them, the 4 best teams in the NFL right now, I think, are Buffalo, Baltimore, Kansas City, and Detroit. In some order, Detroit's just going to be leading in a lot of games. They have an easy schedule coming up the next 3 weeks. Suspect that they're going to be 11-1. And these guys are just going to keep getting work on the ground, particularly because my sense is that deep down, kind of Dan Campbell and Ben Johnson, they don't want to put the ball in Goff's hands because things like last night can happen, and they want to lean on the run as much as possible.
Well, also, by the way, and it takes, it just, in terms of first off, it's his mentality. It's Dan Campbell's mentality. It's also how they're built. That offensive line was built to run block. And also just like it all plays against each other. One of the reasons their defense can play so well is they're not on the field that much because Detroit is so good at at time of possession and ball control. And so when your defense doesn't have to play like a zillion snaps, you're fresher and you can attack and get after it more as well. I felt like last night it feels like it's always been sort of an even split. I felt like last night they weren't running the ball. Credit to the Texans defensive line. They were dominating and they couldn't get the run game going, and finally like Gibbs popped a couple of ones that showed a little bit of juice, and it just felt like I don't want to say ride the hot hand because it's not like Gibbs was hot, but it just felt like his explosiveness and using him out of the backfield a little bit, and they did a couple of dump offs where they had some positive yardage. There just wasn't a lot there for Montgomery on the ground.
No, and also Gibbs is the better running back. He's the better player than Dave Montgomery. Dave Montgomery is a very important part of the offense, but ultimately, when the game was on the line, they went to Gibbs and Gibbs delivered.
And for how much they want to run it, they need Montgomery to be involved because 31 carries between them. You're not giving Gibbs 26, 27 carries. He's not built like that.
They ran the ball 31 times between them in a game they were losing the entire time, most of the time by double digits.
That's the offense.
And part of it was also like, should we let Goff throw interception number 4, or should we try to establish the run here a little bit as well? I was very disappointed because in our NBC Guillotine League, it's down to like the final 5, and it was me and Rotopat, and he had Gibbs and I had Montgomery, and so barring a Monday Night Miracle, I will be saying goodbye tonight.
Out.
I'm on the way out. Yeah, I'm like 4. I'm done, and I'm like 5 points up, but the person behind me, I think, has Tyreek Hill tonight. So.
And Kyron Williams, is that right?
No. Oh. That's the League of Assholes where stupid Dev has Kyron and Tyreek. Yeah. So that's a different league anyway. But yeah, it's a whole thing. Anyway, I will be saying goodbye to our sadly. I'm going to finish 5th. What's your team in there? The Vegemite sandwiches? What are you guys?
Vegemite sandwiches. No, my team name is Naomi Watts. I can't remember why.
Naomi Watts. Well, it's
Australian actress.
Because she's a great Australian.
Australian British, but I think Australia claims her. We'll certainly claim her if we can.
She is. Unlike other people I may know, she is a great Australian.
Yes,
she is.
yes,
Naomi Watts is somebody that Australia is proud of.
Yes. Unlike me, Ray Gunn, and Paul Hogan.
Correct. Correct. That's factually correct. Yeah, and I mean, like, I get thrown under the bus adjacently because I did
Yes.
right.
Yeah.
Croc
Australian
3.
by extension.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, so all right, so there we go.
On the Texans side, you said it, Matthew. Not a good night for C.J. Stroud. I mean, he only throws for 1 touchdown. That was to John Mechie, who had a big night. Great for John Mechie.
Great story coming back from cancer.
Yeah,
we love that. We love that.
He got injured in college, and then he gets drafted in the 2nd round, and then he has cancer. Like, he's had a long, long road to recovery for a variety of reasons. So that was awesome. But I think the bottom line is this offense without Nico Collins, it looks like a shell of itself.
It does. And look, the offensive line has been bad and decimated and injured, and so Stroud is under pressure a lot. And what's happened is Stroud is now second-guessing himself. I think partially because he's under pressure a lot, partially because, to your point, he's been without Nico Collins for a while. Now he's had a couple games without Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell in and out of the lineup as well. So he doesn't really have as much experience with the guys that are out there than he expected to. So I think there's that. But like, he just looks indecisive in the pocket. Like, it drove me crazy because my parlay for Sunday Night Football was David Montgomery anytime touchdown cashed. Amon-Ra 60 yards, hit it on the nail. It was dicey, but that hit on the nail. But then 50 yards for Tank Dell. And he got 9 targets, as you see there. Like, he got opportunities. There was a play where he was streaking down to the corner of the end zone, and he's wide open. He's betting his guy. And C.J. Stroud just like double pumps and like clutches for a second and takes like 3 seconds too long to throw it. When he finally does throw it to Dell, the Lions are able to recover and they make the interception in the end zone. It was just an awful play.
Throw. It's very strange.
Like, he needs to throw it quicker and he needs to throw it deeper. And that's a touchdown, and that would have gotten us there on the Tank Dell parlay. But more importantly, I thought it was emblematic of the way Stroud has played recently.
It is. Yeah. I did a tape breakdown for the Jets-Texans game on pregame yesterday where he missed, I think it was Mixon on a wheel route, which would have been like a 60-yard touchdown. Yeah. And he was pressured. Laramie Tunsil gave up a pressure on the play, but instead of hanging in and stepping up and making the throw or shuffling, he spun around and turned his back to the play. And that's just one example from you, one example from me. He's just missing a couple big plays this year that it felt like he never missed those last year.
Would you back 60-1 that Bryce Young has a better career than C.J. Stroud?
60-1.
60-1. So like more than a 2% chance, or more than a 1.5% chance.
That's the reason it's priced that way.
Yeah. I mean, it's very, very unlikely, obviously.
Yeah.
But Bryce Young played better than C.J. Stroud this weekend.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
I was just about to bring that up. I wonder if 5 years from now, with more, like, if we'll look back and go like, hey, I'm surprised this is,
It's at least interesting.
It's at least
last year was like, whoa, man, this is an all-time mistake, all-time historic mistake.
Yeah. This was Sam Bowie instead of Michael Jordan. Like, that's what it was shaping up to be, right? Yeah. And there you go. See, look at me. Jay's not the only one that can do old basketball references.
What did you say his last name was?
Bowie.
Sam Bowie?
Bowie.
Bowie. Bowie's like your Tyler Boyd, Bowie.
Yeah, I was about to say,
you gotta stop drifting into that zone.
Just stay away from
too many years
come
of
back
listening.
to dry land.
Too many years of listening to Stern. Baba Booey to all of you.
Okay.
Anyway, all right, let's get to Niners-Bucs.
Niners-Bucs, which was highlighted by the return
I don't know that there's a takeaway, though, of the Texans. I don't know that there's a takeaway, really. Like, just, you know what I mean? Like, just
pray for Nico Collins to make it back next week.
We need Nico Collins back next week. I think he will be back. But Stroud is a QB2, similar to Goff, like, moving forward.
A buoy is a thing that's like out in the ocean.
Yeah, you're not supposed to swim past the buoy.
Yeah.
Right, or you can have a Bowie knife.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah,
I think ocean buoys are a little more common than that.
Yeah, ocean buoys. Well,
I like the guy who went over Jordan in '86 or '84.
Well, I just said Bowie. Some Bowie. I don't know.
David Bowie? David Bowie?
Maybe it was David Bowie. The name is spelled the same as David Bowie.
Yes, and it's Bowie. It's the exact same name. What the hell's wrong with you?
How long do you have? How long do you have? You had a chance to ask my parents that, and you didn't. You blew it.
I'm so rattled.
This is your fault.
You
should have asked that question. Yeah. I don't know what to tell you. I spent a lot of time on boats.
Who sang Aladdin Sane? David Bowie.
David Bowie.
Niners Bucs. The return of the long-awaited return for Christian McCaffrey. McCaffrey 13 carries, 39 yards on the ground, but 6 catches for another 68 yards. Here's McCaffrey on his long-anticipated return.
You know, I'm just happy I'm here, man. I mean, that was a long journey and a lot of long days, so it feels good to win and it feels good to just play in a football game again. But I try to stay even keel, and obviously there's a lot of emotion when you play an NFL football game, so I just try to let those come naturally. And you know, but definitely when you miss time due to something like that, and you know, nobody wants to be on the field more than me, just to be out there again, to be honest with you, is just you really realize how much of a privilege it is to play football.
That was Christian McCaffrey, very happy to be back, and Jay, quite frankly, the Niners happy to see him finally.
Yes, they did everything they could to try and lose that game.
Yes.
It should not have been close. 3 missed field goals.
Jake Moody's.
Yes.
Great
Deebo
return.
Samuel representing all 49ers bettors with his tirade on the sideline, which was much welcome. I think the thing with McCaffrey, even though it wasn't a great game on the ground, it was a great game through the air. And just most importantly, he looked like Christian McCaffrey. He looked like the same guy. It's a tough run defense. Wouldn't read too much into it. I think if he stays healthy, he's the #1 player in fantasy the rest of the way.
Yeah, for sure. Wheels up. I mean, I think the other thing is that there was some questions like, will they try to ease him back?
No.
The 49ers had 21 running back touches in this game. McCaffrey got 19 of them. So just, back to being Christian McCaffrey, RB1. So, listen, all of you 3-6 fantasy teams out there with McCaffrey that didn't draft Jordan Mason, here we go. Here we go.
Your season starts now.
The season starts now. You're going to go 7-6, squeeze into the playoffs at the last, and then make a run. There we go. We got you. San Francisco.
Big day for Brock Purdy. I don't know
was.
what that was. 353 yards and 2 touchdowns.
It was a sound.
What was that?
It was a sound effect. It was a sound effect.
I really didn't know how to get to Brock Purdy from
That's
there.
the noise that David Bowie made at the end of Ziggy Stardust.
Exactly. It was a sound of disgust. And rather than trying to articulate how frustrated I am with not only Christian McCaffrey's injury for the first 9 weeks of the season, but also how the 49ers handled it, how the 49ers mentioned it to the public, how the reporting was on it, the very questionable and ultimately inaccurate reporting around his injury. That noise was meant to encapsulate all of that frustration on my behalf and fantasy managers everywhere. So there you go.
Conveyed
You're welcome,
very
America.
accurately.
Thank you. You're welcome, America.
Brock Purdy was magnificent. Connor,
big game.
He wasn't the reason that the game was still in the balance at the end. He had one bad play with a fumble, but he was really good. He dominated the Bucs last year, very suspect secondary, obviously. He was excellent again today. And Brock Purdy with a full complement of weapons, which he has now outside of Ayuk, who's not coming back. He's a QB1 type of player in fantasy and in real life. And Matthew, the big beneficiary through the air yesterday was Juwan Jennings.
32% target share in the 2 games without either Deebo Samuel or Brandon Ayuk. When one of those 2 guys isn't there, he's got at least a 36% target share. Now, it's only 2 games. It's a small sample size, but still, Juwan Jennings has the ability to earn targets. He got 11 targets in this game compared with 7 for McCaffrey, 6 for Deebo, 6 for Ricky Pearsall. We'll talk about in a second here. 4 of the 5 games that Juwan Jennings has gotten at least 5 targets this season, he's averaging double-digit fantasy points, 11 or more fantasy points in 4 of the 5 games with at least 5 targets, and looks the part. That's the other thing. We talked about this. If the 49ers win the Super Bowl last year, there's an argument to be made that he should have been the MVP. Whenever Juwan Jennings has gotten an opportunity to produce, he does. When he gets an opportunity, and obviously with the season-ending injury to Brandon Ayuk, he's going to continue to get opportunities. A game like this does nothing but make me think, he's a borderline wide receiver 2-3. I think, given how good Purdy is playing, how good this offense is, and now again, when you're a defensive coordinator, between Kittle and Deebo and CMC and now Jennings, it's like pick your poison.
Oh, Pearsall had his first touchdown.
Pearsall had a great game too. But I would still prefer, if both guys were available on my waiver wire, I would pick Jennings over Pearsall.
It's not close.
Yes.
I think ultimately the way it's going to be is Jennings is going to play more of the Ayuk role, and that Pearsall is going to play more of the the Jennings role.
Yes.
And so there are games where Jennings is going to have a random game where he's like, 4 for 42 or whatever, and it's not super exciting because there just are so many mouths in that offense.
That's the point,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
But he's, to me, somebody that I think you can start with confidence every single week. Now, obviously, it was a great matchup against Tampa Bay, but still, I don't think this is a fluke for Juwan Jennings. And Pearsall was really nice, great story as well for him to get in the end zone. But a lot of it came on the one big play.
Yep.
On the Bucs side of things, guys, the only noteworthy aspect here, besides Baker Mayfield having what felt like his first real tough day of the season, is Bucky Irving's
He's
volume
got no one out there. I feel so bad for Baker Mayfield. This team is better. I feel bad for the Buccaneers, by the way. They're 4-5, and they're a lot better than that. Are they 4-5 or 4-6?
4-6.
They're 4-6. They're a better team than 4-6.
Well, they butchered kind of both Atlanta games.
Yeah,
they should have beaten the Chiefs at the end if they'd managed the clock better and perhaps gone for 2. So yeah, I think that they're a deeply flawed team, but they get Mike Evans back after the bye. They'll be able to still potentially make a run in the NFC to get to the playoffs. But Baker Mayfield, yes, not his best day, but his best moment. Stiff-arming Nick Bosa was absolutely magnificent. I have no idea why Nick Bosa didn't just drop to the ground and pull him down with him and just continue to maybe I'll just run 50 yards and push him out of bounds.
Because that would have been that would have been a drop.
Worried about the hip drop tackle?
I know, but there's ways that I think there's other ways he could have tried to bring him down. But Baker Mayfield, strong man. If they'd won that game, that would have been an all-time play to convert 4
It
from
is,
7.
but it still was it's an unbelievable play that I'm sure you've seen online and everything like that. But if not, look it up as well. But yeah, look, Bucky Irving, we were half right on Bucky Irving. The argument in the preseason, we talked about him as he was a sleeper for me. He was a sleeper for the table here. We liked him a lot, and we didn't really love Rachaad White. And we're saying, I'm telling you, Bucky Irving's the better running back. So we were right in this sense. Bucky Irving is the better running back. He is the best running back on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's the better running back. Another nice game for Bucky Irving. He's now had at least 15 fantasy points in 4 of the past 5. He got 48% of the team's running back rushes. That's the second highest rate this season. He's getting the workload, especially with all the injuries to wide receiver. Now 16 touches in 2 of the past 3 games. So that's the part we were right in. That just from a talent standpoint, this is the best guy they got. The part we were wrong in is that we thought Todd Bowles would recognize how inefficient Rachaad White is, and he would lose his role, and he hasn't. Rachaad White continues to be out there. And in fairness to Rachaad White, he's played better than I think recently he's stepped up. He made a couple of nice plays in this game as well. But anyway, it was just I don't know that you can count on 17.7 fantasy points from Bucky Irving, especially once they get. But still no Godwin and Bucky Irving. I think is going to remain on the flex radar as well. Just another nice game for him.
Our next game, guys, the Commanders lose a tough one to the Steelers, who just find a way. It's honestly remarkable.
That was so ridiculous. That was such a stupid loss. I'm so annoyed at that loss.
Yep. To be fair, you beat the Bears on the most miraculous play in the history of the football. You're still 7-3. Still going to make the playoffs. It's fine. It's fine. Okay?
The thing that was just frustrating for me is look, we lose to and I'm with you. We probably deserved to lose to the Bears. It was a crazy play. But look, we lost the first game to the Buccaneers. Okay, fine, whatever. It's Jane Daniels' first game. Bucs are a good team. Okay, whatever. We lose on the road to Baltimore. It's fine. Yep. Baltimore's got a good shot at the Super Bowl. We're playing against the defending MVP who's probably going to win another one. All right, fine. And we hung with them. Whatever. We lost by a touchdown, whatever. We can do. But this one felt like this is the game that we could have won. Easily could have won. I thought it was a first down. What did you guys think? You guys will call it true. I thought it was a first down.
Thought it was borderline. I think you got to defer to what the call is.
That's what they do. Yeah.
I think. To me,
I will agree. I will say that once they call I will say that is that once they, for much as I was bitching about it online, I will say that once they made that call that it wasn't a first down, there wasn't enough there to overturn it.
That's the issue.
It wasn't conclusive enough. I will say though later at the game at Football Night in America at FNIA HQ, I was talking with Coach Tony Dungy, Hall of Famer Tony Dungy, Super Bowl winning coach Tony Dungy, Pittsburgh Steeler legend Tony Dungy, and I asked him, and he said, I thought it was a first down when I was watching it live. I thought they converted the first down when he was watching it live.
Well, here's the thing. If you were a Vikings fan, then you would not feel any sense of injustice about that play.
Oh, no, 1,000%. And by the way, I think the Texans got jobbed. That was pass interference that should have extended the drive. The Texans got jobbed last night. They shouldn't have had to kick as long a field goal. And anyway, the refs have made a bunch of bad calls down the stretch to a lot of teams, not just my beloved Commanders.
My takeaway from this game, Connor, is, and this might make some people upset, Russell Wilson is a mirage. This is not real.
I agree.
He went 14 for 28. He was just throwing circus jump balls against the Jets the first time.
That's what he does.
And then he played against the Giants and was like, fine, but it's the Giants, they're not very good. And like 14 for 28 against the Commanders defense. Yes, he's throwing some touchdown passes, but this is not sustainable. He is fine. He's an average quarterback. Like I'm seeing people are talking about, like, oh, does Russell Wilson belong in the MVP conversation? He's played 3 games. You know what Lamar Jackson is doing? Josh Allen, what they're doing?
Even Jaden Daniels.
Right, in the same
Even
game.
Jared Goff part of last night.
Russell Wilson is in a top 15 MVP candidate.
I 1,000%
He is
agree with
fine.
that.
This is not going to continue. He's getting lucky at the moment.
I completely agree. I will say the pass to Mike Williams on the blitz was a brilliant pass.
Sure.
I got to give him credit for that. That was an awesome
good
pass. I
quarterback.
was super annoyed. I screamed something that I can't say on television when watching the game. I was just like, that's why we need Marshawn Lattimore. But I mean, that was a brilliant play and pass. Like, give him credit under pressure, just an absolute dime. But I'm with you. He overall does not look good. He doesn't get you a lot with his legs. I think he's getting lucky with the touchdowns. I think regression is coming. I think if I had Russell Wilson in a league, I think I would try to trade him. I would try to sell high a little bit because I think he is I would much rather have Jared Goff or C.J. Stroud, 2 other mid-tier QB2s that we talked about earlier. I'd rather have each of those guys the rest of the season than Russell Wilson. And Russell Wilson, is QB10 this week, and he's been like basically a top 10 fantasy quarterback in the 3 games that he started for the Steelers.
I'd rather have Aaron Rodgers than Russell Wilson. He's got Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson to throw to.
Yeah.
And the team doesn't seem like it's very good, which we'll get to at some point, I'm sure.
I mean,
in just a moment.
Throwing.
I will say he seems to have unlocked George Pickens as well. George Pickens, who makes some boneheaded plays, but also some brilliant plays as well. But
the most wild player in football.
I mean, it's just the.
Just trying to fight dudes.
Yes.
out there.
He's the most wild player in
The tackle
football.
on the interception with a guy that didn't have the ball.
It wasn't a tackle. It was. It's time to brawl.
It was just like it was. Just
He knew
full on,
that.
Like I'm going wrestle. I'm going wrestling moves as well. But since Wilson took over, he's got a 26% target share. Russ has kind of like an F it. George is down there somewhere kind of mentality, and he's talented enough that he'll come down with the ball more often than not.
All right, guys. By the way, we're gonna find out more about this Steelers team. They're gonna play a lot of AFC North football coming up.
The reckoning is coming. And I
Ravens?
got nothing against the Steelers. I don't mind Russ, like whatever. He's got a hard deal the way he was treated, but there is a reckoning coming, and I think Lamar Jackson is going to deliver.
It's next week against Baltimore for sure.
All 4 of their next games are AFC North games. AFC North football is just different. Ravens at Cleveland, which we know their defense can compete. At Cincinnati, which the Bengals want to play a shootout. Would be interesting to see how he does in that situation. Then home to Cleveland.
Yeah, but after that, Baltimore, Philadelphia, Kansas City, Cincinnati.
They have a brutal.
What's their win total?
What are
DraftKings.
they now? They're 7-2.
Yeah.
I think it'd be like 10.5. Is my
Would
guess.
you take the under on that, given that schedule?
I think it's like 50-50 because they got the 2 Cleveland games, which they should take care of business.
Split.
Yeah, no, a split is like the modal
probably
outcome.
split, and they'll eke out one. Like they'll eke out one
of the
whether
tough
it's
ones.
Cincinnati or one of the tough ones. Maybe they split with Baltimore too.
They always steal stupid games against
do.
Baltimore, like Kenny Pickett at quarterback.
Right. Yeah. So they probably split with Baltimore, split with Cleveland. Maybe they beat Philly. I
think they're going to end up a 10-7 or 11-6 wild card. I think Baltimore will still take the division.
On the Washington side of things here, Matthew, quiet fantasy day for Jaden Daniels because he didn't run, and also the bobble in the end zone.
I mean,
could have been better.
Dimey Brown drops a bad one, but listen, I love Jaden Daniels, my favorite fantasy player, my favorite NFL player, but look, this was not a good game for him. Like he missed Luke McCaffrey, he missed a couple of throws that we'd like to have had back. He shouldn't have even been that 4th down to have that play because he missed a throw that same drive that would have extended it. And credit the Steelers because they limited his rushing quite a bit. Better days are ahead. They play Thursday night against Philadelphia. I think it's just a tough day at the office for Jaden Daniels. Similar to like Kyler Murray, who we talked about, Kyler Murray like 2 weeks ago just had a bad fantasy day, but ultimately played well. Not Jaden Daniels' best game, but I thought against one of the toughest defenses in the NFL. Commanders' offensive line really banged up, and they got even more banged up in this game. So he was just under pressure from T.J. Watt and company. Better days are ahead for them. It's true though the Commanders desperately need a second wide receiver. Ultimately, after Terry McLaurin.
Speaking of Kyler Murray,
they'll get Brian Robinson back next week, hopefully.
That's exactly what happened, Matthew. Big day against the Jets. He's 22-24. He couldn't miss. Ride or die, Kyler Murray. Couldn't miss. Most importantly, he runs for 2 touchdowns in this game. He's QB4 heading into Monday Night Football. And keep in mind the nuclear Thursday night performances from Burrow and Lamar set everybody behind them from the get-go.
Oh, for sure. By the way, as big as Kyler's day was, could have been even bigger. He threw a screen pass to James Conner, and James Conner got down like on the half-inch line. It looked like he might have even gotten in, and I don't know. They said
they handed the ball
They
off.
sent it down, and then they handed the ball off to James Conner. But if that ball gets in, that's another
They
touchdown
said,
pass.
The right butt cheek was down. Was the exact
right,
verbiage,
exactly. The
which
right
it was.
butt cheek. Yeah. But that's whatever, game of inches, as it were. But very quietly, my ride or die has 20 or more fantasy points in 3 of his last 4 games, 4 of his last 6. Screw you, haters. I was getting so much grief on Kyler Murray, and the chirping's a little quieter today, as well it should be.
I think right now he would be the most deserving comeback player of the year winner. And it's a little bit weird because he kind of came back last year and played half the season, but he had an injury that caused him to miss time, and also this is his comeback season. This is his arc. This is he's coming back from all the stupid Call of Duty stuff and him being written off, and now he's playing it. He's playing it like a fringe MVP ballot type of level. He's playing extremely well. The team is 6-4. They've got all the tie breaks. There's a good chance they win the division.
Which is wild.
Yeah, and the favorite in the market is Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins has been fine. I don't think he's having an amazing season.
I like that call quite a bit, especially because, by the way, so much attention, and I'm as guilty of it as anyone, has been on Jaden Daniels and the turnaround in Washington. It's a fun franchise. He's a fun player as well. But the Cardinals are just as good a story. They're 6-4.
They don't get the attention.
They don't get any attention because it's a smaller market team and they're West Coast and everything like that. But everyone thought their preseason win total was probably 5 or 6.
Yeah,
right? This is a team that picked in the top 5 of the NFL draft last year. They were just as bad as the Commanders, and they're 6-4, and they're top of the division.
Yeah, they're a 40% chance to win a division that has the San Francisco 49ers in it.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Solid day for that top 5 pick, by the way. I know it's been an up and down season for Marvin Harrison Jr., but he caught all 5 of his targets for 54 yards. The touchdown was beautiful. Kyler really didn't need to drop back a ton in this game. So the production from Marv, who comes into Monday Night Football as a top 15 wide receiver, it was good to see him bounce back.
It absolutely was. And what's nice about the Cardinals is, as well as they're playing, it's also fairly simple for fantasy purposes. You're starting James Conner every week, Marvin Harrison, Trey McBride, and Kyler Murray.
Yep.
Bingo, bango.
Easy.
Yeah.
On the Jets side, nothing working. The only player with double-digit fantasy points, Breece Hall.
You know what? Jay and I are going to take this off. You go ahead, Connor. You just talk about the Jets. Take this off.
I talked about the Jets for 4 hours yesterday.
I know. So what's another 90 seconds?
I mean, right now, Aaron Rodgers can't move. The offense looked quite terrible.
Yes.
I don't really know what else there is to say. Why you would trust this offense? I don't even know if you're starting Devontae Adams going forward.
Yeah, I mean, you probably
That's
have to start.
my takeaway. Garrett Wilson will be fine.
Yeah.
Garrett Wilson will be fine. Breece Hall will be fine. I don't know who else you're starting from the Jets offense right now.
It's just a sub-real NFL team at the moment. It's just an atrocity.
The thing is, too, that you have to realize, their defense is so bad that when they're in a script that they're down 3 touchdowns 18 minutes into the game, the defense is the opposition just sitting on the pass. Not to give Rodgers a bailout, who was bad yesterday.
They were favored in the game yesterday.
But which we've called, this is ridiculous. This is getting ridiculous.
We said this on Fantasy
They're 3.5-point favorites against the Colts next week. Yeah. The Jets are a bad team.
Yeah, and it's the rule. When I said this on Fantasy Football pregame yesterday, just that the Cardinals were underdogs, and you had a team with a winning record. Yeah. Giving points to a team with a losing record, and you always take no matter how ugly it looks, and we're take the Cardinals.
It opened as a pick, and the public moved it to 2 points, which tells you the public keeps believing in the Jets' resurgence, and it doesn't look like it's happening.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. They play the Colts this week though, and then they have a bye, and they'll fix all the things on the bye, Con.
They look great out of the bye. They had 10 days off before this one.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So,
woo, doggy.
All right, let's jump to injuries here.
Business must be good for your Jets podcast though.
It is. People want therapy right now.
Yeah, I bet. I bet. Dr. Connor.
That's what we've built it on.
Dr. Rogers.
Don't forget I'm a licensed physician.
Yes.
All right, injuries we're tracking here. Najee Harris with an ankle. Aaron Jones was carted off. But get this, guys. Aaron Jones said he was carted because the X-ray machine was so far away from where he was. So the cart was the quickest path. Hopefully Aaron Jones will be okay.
He'll be fine.
Tank Bigsby with the ankle. Sam LaPorta with the shoulder. He might not play next week. We'll have all the updates on Sam LaPorta throughout the week. Dalton Kincaid left the game with a knee injury, so we need more updates on that.
That one didn't look great either.
Did not look good.
It feels like it might be Dawson Knox season. We'll talk more about that tomorrow. Hopefully get more clarity today as well. Last one here. We're talking about this CeeDee Lamb. Are we going to do this at all?
He couldn't see.
I know.
The sun was in his eyes. They're not putting up the curtains.
That's
it. Cowboys.
It's like Sweden in summer.
Not good. It's not good. The Cooper Rush-led offense. No,
It was
Not
a
great.
tough day at the office for
it's going to be a
everyone.
tough couple weeks at the office.
For
We'll
my
be
guy-
back
my
after
poor-
this.
My guy ate. Oh my
Weekend
God.
Warriors.
Throw some curtains, Jerry.
Sunday
Throw some
Scaries.
curtains.
Right after this. Applebee's is doing their part to honor those who have served our country on Veterans Day. So for the 17th straight year, all veterans and active duty military can enjoy a free meal today at your nearest Applebee's. They can choose from 7 of Applebee's popular entrees for their free lunch or dinner, including a chicken tender platter or a 6-ounce top sirloin, and add to the over 11.7 million meals Applebee's has contributed.
Yeah, we talked about this yesterday on Fantasy Football pregame. Veterans, of course,
Veterans drink for free today.
as
Yep.
well. And
Happy Veterans
by the
Day.
way, and not just veterans, but their families as well. Everyone wants to talk about, and very importantly, the sacrifices that the men and women, past, present, and future, that serve our country make. But it's also the families as well that have to deal with their loved one, their spouses, their husbands and mothers, fathers and sons, and that are away from the family as well, serving our country. So they all make sacrifices. Veterans Day, every day should be Veterans Day. Honestly, every day should be Veterans Day. We get to do what we do thanks to the sacrifices that our veterans make. And I love that Applebee's, it's one of my favorite things that Applebee's does, is that by honoring veterans, they serve more meals today. They'll serve more meals today than the entire year for Applebee's. And a lot of the people that work at Applebee's are veterans. They hire a lot of veterans, and those veterans who have the day off because it's Veterans Day actually come in on their day off because they want to help celebrate and reminisce and honor their fellow veterans as well. So it's one of the best things that I think Applebee's does. So much love and respect, and our thanks to all veterans. You guys drink free not only today, but honestly every day here at the Happy Hour.
Weekend Warriors. Bijan Robinson kicks off our list here, guys. 20 carries, 116 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 catches, 28 yards. And Matthew, you just looked incredible in this game. I mean, it's not just the stats, the eye test. This is the Bijan Robinson we've been hoping for.
Yeah, obviously good matchup with the Saints, but Kirk did not look good in this game, and so even in a game in which Kirk was up and down a little bit, it was nice to see how efficient Bijan Robinson was. This is now the 5th straight game with at least 21 fantasy points for Bijan Robinson since Week 6. He's the #1 running back in fantasy football.
Jay, the Panthers, after paying Chuba Hubbard, said you're going to earn that money. 28 carries, but 153 yards and a touchdown. Big day for Chuba in Germany.
Yeah, he went full Chuba in Munich, just eviscerated my New York Giants.
Guten Tag.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know what that means.
Guten Tag means good afternoon.
That's dangerous.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Yelling
very
words.
good.
I know
In other
that's the one
languages.
German word I knew.
We just lost our entire German audience, but that's fine.
Do you think we have a big German audience?
Yeah, we have a huge burgeoning German. Yeah,
They love us in Germany.
They love us in Dortmund.
Yeah, sure.
I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens when Jonathan Brooks comes back, because Chuba Hubbard's played really well, and I think that he may just maintain the role.
Were you shocked? I was shocked about the fact that they signed, because again, the conventional wisdom is you used a high draft pick on Jonathan Brooks, and then you just, by the way, it was great to see Chuba get rewarded like that. He has had an unbelievable year in a bad situation. We love Chuba here, but I was just like, but you guys just used wasn't Brooks a 2nd-round pick?
He was. I think they want him to be their receiving back, maybe a Gibbsian type role. It seemed like a lot, but good for Chuba Hubbard. Happy for Chuba Hubbard.
No, listen, good for Chuba Hubbard, but it's just I don't know how Brooks takes this job over. Like you just paid
He doesn't.
Hubbard's been fantastic,
Might be
and
next year. Might be next year.
I don't know.
This year it's
It's
they
not
just
happening
paid
this
him.
year. I don't know if it's happening
they just
next year.
paid him though. That's my point. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Anyways,
Sonic and
Marquez Valdes-Scantling, yes, MVS is a weekend warrior. He caught all 3 of his targets for over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, Matthew. Unbelievable.
Yeah, but also, did this on a 67% route participation. He's still MVS. It's the most MVS thing of all time that he couldn't get it done with Jordan Love or Patrick Mahomes, but Derek Carr, he's an All-Pro. It's insanity.
I'm not gonna lie, I follow football pretty closely. I was at the airport with Lawrence Jackson yesterday and coming back from Houston, and he told me that MVS had 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, and I was like, for what team?
When I saw him streaking down the field, I literally was like, who is that right now?
I did not, right. I obviously, we all follow football very closely. It's our job, and I did not know
not
that
Bub
Marquez
Means.
Valdes-Scantling was on. Well, Anyway, I think you can ignore MVS. Derek Carr likes to throw it deep, but I'm not buying this. 3 targets.
Top 5 finish for Calvin Ridley, Jay. Wide receiver 3 going into Monday Night Football. Caught 5 of 9 targets, 84 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
I mean, this is what it was supposed to be like with Will Levis throwing it deep. So I was encouraging on that because he had the big game with Mason Rudolph. Very encouraging that he was able to have the big game with Will Levis. So I think Calvin Ridley is like a kind of wide receiver 2, borderline wide receiver 2 going forward.
I agree with that, by the way. In the 3 games since DeAndre Hopkins was traded to the Chiefs, he's got a 36% target share. He's averaging over 20 fantasy points per game. And shout out to Will Levis, who, even in a losing effort, I thought he looked pretty good. I thought that's the best he's looked as well, and he made some really nice deep throws as well. We know he's got a cannon for an arm, so it seems like the time off did him well. So anyway, I thought it was an encouraging performance from Levis.
How about the tight end performances yesterday, Matthew? Travis Kelce gets 12 targets, and TJ Hockenson in his return gets 9 now. 64 yards for Kelce and a touchdown, 72 yards for Hockenson, who's really looking like himself.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of analysis here with Kelce. Just Surtain had Hopkins for much of this game. It was kind of an ugly game in Denver. I don't know how the Chiefs ended up winning this game. They can't keep getting away with it. It's just. But anyway, they end up winning this game. But Kelce was the one thing that's working. Since the Rashee Rice injury, he's got a 31% target share. That was the thought. Rice went down. They're going to have to lean more on Travis Kelce. That's exactly what's happened. But it was great to see TJ Hockenson here in a game in which Sam Darnold, and we'll talk about this, when literally nothing else on the Vikings was working on the road at Jacksonville. TJ Hockenson has a 24% target share, a 71% route participation. Last week it was 60%, so trending up, trending in the right direction. And I thought this was nice that no tight end had more receiving yards in Week 10. He was tied with Kelce for the most catches this season. So that's TJ Hockenson.
Yep, he's back.
He's back. Top 5 guy going forward.
Thanks to Teron Johnson and the Buffalo defense, it's officially an Applebee's Pick 6 Monday. This football season, a Pick 6 during any NFL Sunday game will unlock 6 free boneless wings the next day on Monday at Applebee's for both dine-in and to go. And on behalf of the Bills, we got one. Head to your local Applebee's today. Be sure to say your friends at the happy hour sent you. How about the Sunday Scaries, guys? Jay, the Bears offense makes the list. And it's not just Caleb Williams, not just the Bears offense is on Sunday Scaries.
Everyone's just got to go.
This was a horrific performance.
This is a disgrace. It might be the single worst performance any team's had this year. They're 6.5-point favorites in that game against the Patriots. Just nothing working. I don't feel good about starting any Bear until further notice.
I don't know. The Vikings looked pretty bad against the Jaguars yesterday. And the Jags look brutal, too.
The Vikings won the game.
Yeah, I know.
Well,
the Vikings at least
next
won
up
the
on our
game.
list is the Jags offense.
But can you start? Let's give some quick analysis here. I don't think you can start, other than DeAndre Swift, I don't think you can start. Swift is the only Bear that you can feel confident starting.
Yep, everyone else on the bench for now.
Yeah.
The Jags offense, the highlight of this game, and it really wasn't a highlight for them, but for us to laugh, is Cameron Bynum's interception off Mac Jones.
Yeah.
He did the entire ray gun routine. You have to see this.
This is unbelievable. This is great. Look at this. So
he really nailed it. He put a lot of time into.
He really had. He did this. He studied it. It's really impressive here, Jay. And Bynum has been named to the Australian Olympic team for the
flag football.
Yeah, for the next Olympics.
Oh, he's replacing.
He's replacing Ray Gun. In breakdancing, in 2028.
Yeah, he's an honorary Australian citizen.
Yes.
He can replace Reagan's Australian citizenship. I believe it's a one-in, one-out type situation.
Where's she going?
Guys,
she's not coming here.
Yeah, we'll trade you guys Reagan. We get Cameron Bynum.
No one wants Reagan. No one wants Reagan. We barely want J Gun.
Oh, dear.
Quick one here. Sam Darnold, 241 yards, no touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Jay, this just feels like Darnold has, the last couple games, is starting to revert back to the Sam we fear.
Sam Darnold is a rich man's Nick Mullins. That is what he is. He is not a great quarterback. He's fine, but he's going to have games like this.
Yeah, I still think it's a borderline QB1, although I will say their upcoming schedule at Tennessee, at Chicago, home to a plucky Arizona team, and then home to Atlanta. It's not easy for Sam Darnold, so you might want, we'll talk more about this tomorrow on waivers, but you might want another quarterback. Tough day at the office for Sam.
DraftKings Sportsbook is the #1 place to bet touchdowns, and new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the app and use promo code Barry when you sign up. DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours.
It's yours.
It's time for last call. Here are the most bet Monday Night Football props on DraftKings. Devon Achane, receiving yards, over 45.5 and then under 49.5. The public is playing a little game of tug of war. Sure. Jalen Waddle receiving yards, 50+. That's plus 130.
Yeah.
Puka Nacua receptions over 5.5. Jonnu Smith receptions over 3.5. Jay, what are you looking at in this game?
I'm just done with Tyreek Hill. I'm sick of waiting. I'm taking under 75.5 receiving yards. He's being priced too much like the guy that he was last year. He's had 20 targets his past 3 games with Tua Tagovailoa. It's just not enough. He's banged up. Yep. I think he's going to be limited. Rams defense has gotten better at limiting explosives. So give me the under on Tyreek.
He was added to the injury report as the week went on. So we'll see. Right now we expect him to play, but just something to watch out for, by the way, just in case there is a chance he gets ruled out. I like that bet. I never like to follow the public, but I'm actually going to do this. I'm taking Jonnu Smith over 3.5 receptions as well. I think the public's onto something here. Look, he's had at least 4 receptions in each of the last 4 games, including the 2 games with Tua Tagovailoa under center. And it's worth noting that the Rams allow the 5th highest catch rate to opposing tight ends. So again, if Tyreek Hill is out or limited in this game, they're going to look for other ways to get the ball down the field. And Jonnu Smith has become more a part of this offense recently.
Yeah, going back to Tyreek Hill's potential health concerns in this game, I think the Dolphins are going to run the ball a lot. I like Raheem Mostert over 32.5 rushing yards. Achane's been awesome since Tua's been back. Mostert's still getting 10 carries every game. He's still effective. He gets a lot of the goal line work, but he really just needs one decent run to break this mold. I like Mostert against that Rams front. Let's take a look at Matthew's top-ranked Monday Night Football players, because there's a lot of fantasy big names in this game, Matthew, that are going to decide matchups on the final night.
Oh, for sure. A lot of Monday Night Miracles going to be coming through. Obviously, Hill, Kupp, and Nacua all inside my top 12 this week. Achane and Kyren Williams inside my top 10. Tua and Stafford, both viable quarterbacks as well. We just talked about Jonnu Smith, given the state of tight end. He's a top 10 play for me this week. Can Jalen Waddle get going? We've been waiting. Please, Jalen Waddle, please get going. So there you go. Hey, in our last minute, I just want to take one moment here. A couple members of the Houston Fire Department came to our fantasy football pregame show at Applebee's, and so I just want to take one moment here. I was talking to them and give a shout out to Station 23 of the Houston Fire Department. Awesome. One of their own, Marcelo Garcia, unfortunately passed away recently in the line of duty as well, and so I know a lot of the guys in Station 23 play fantasy football, so just and they came out to the show to support us. So just want to send a lot of love. Guys from the Houston Fire Department were just telling me about it. So just a lot of love to Marcelo Garcia's family and his co-workers and everyone at Station 23. We're thinking about you here at the pregame and happy hour. So much love to them and the Houston Fire Department.
Well said.
All right, well, it is closing time, which means you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. For Jay and Connor, I am Matthew. Good luck with your Monday Night Miracles tonight. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace out. Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and Rotoworld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest Rotoworld fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.